Hi and welcome back to the channel, and this week, strangely, we're looking at a roll of black gaffer tape. All will become clear shortly. You may have already seen the thumbnail, at which point I may have given the game away, but yeah, it's a roll of black gaffer tape. Now, I didn't actually buy this for me, but it has served a useful modelling purpose. My wife was making a costume for our eldest son for World Book Day, and she wanted some black gaffer tape that she could use to modify a witch's hat to make it look like the hat for the Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz. Long story, I know, and not really relevant to modelling. But she wanted to be able to basically kind of misshape the hat, certainly the point of the hat, fold it down and over, and use some black gaffer tape, possibly small bits on the outside, but also some on the inside, to get it to hold its shape. So I went looking for black gaffer tape, and I found this, which I decided had a second purpose. Most gaffer tape you find has a kind of shiny surface. I mean, a lot of the stuff is the kind of the bright silver stuff. But this is really kind of matte and kind of fabric-like, while still being reasonably strong and sticky. I'll stick a link to the actual stuff I bought in the bottom, in the description, so you can have a look. But it's 5 centimeters wide, and worked perfectly for modifying the hat. So well, in fact, that my son came home with the prize for the best costume for his class. So well done to my wife for her persevering with the witch's hat. Anyway, why am I talking about this when this is a channel looking mostly at railway modelling? Well, you may remember quite a few videos ago now, since we've been distracted by the little works loco in 09 gauge. When we were looking at the build of Toby the Tram Engine from the IP Engineering Shelley Tram kit, I was talking about how I was going to decorate the roof. And the roof was made from a piece of curved aluminium with some holes drilled in it for the details to attach. But I said that I wasn't sure whether I was just going to paint it or not, because chances are the roof originally would have probably had that kind of tar covered paper felt stuff on it to keep it waterproof. And I did actually at the time mention possibly wide gaffer tape, masking tape. I actually had some black masking tape, which looks ridiculously similar really to the gaffer tape, but is just masking tape. But it was nowhere near thick enough given the size of the roof. So when I saw this, I thought, well, it'll do for what my wife wants, but also it might do for the roof of the tram loco. So how did we do? Well, here's the roof. And as you can see, actually, it's pretty good. So what I've done is I've put a number of layers on. You can kind of see, if I get the light right, you can see I started at this end with a part strip and then some full length pieces, and I ended up with a quite small piece at this end. Now I could redo it, so I make this one slightly smaller and this one slightly bigger, but for now I'm reasonably happy with it. It looks really good and it feels lovely. It's got that nice kind of material felt feel to it. And yeah, and so if you look at the bottom, you can kind of see how I did it. So most of the strips are just kind of turned over the edge, and that works well. The strips at the edge are a bit more, along the curved edge here, are a bit more difficult. It's a bit difficult to see now with the light, but what I had to do was essentially cut little triangles out, so I ended up with flaps that I could fold over, because if I just tried to fold the whole end over, it would bubble up because of the curve. But yeah, that worked reasonably well. And then what I did was at the ends, because there was gaps where I had the flaps, you can kind of, there's one here, I don't know if you can see it in the light or not, but I put another piece over underneath here and here to cover up the flaps. But that means when it's on the locomotive and there's a gap around the edge, it's all nicely felted, and I can still work out how I'm going to do attach things to in here to attach the roof to the loco properly. But currently that all works quite nicely. And I did wonder whether I could get away with not painting it and just weathering it, but I've decided I am going to have to give it at least a light dusting of paint, and there are kind of two reasons for that. Firstly, and you can kind of see it here, where I cut the flaps to get it to bend over the edge, I've ended up with little holes. I possibly could have got away with cutting the triangles not quite to the edge and folding it, and that would have meant that I would end up with less here. But to get it to lie nice and flat, I've ended up with some tiny little holes. So my hope is that if I paint this, then they'll disappear and you won't notice them, and the fact that they're not actually got material on them won't matter. The same at the corners. The corners kind of stick. There's a bit of reflection. Some of this white though isn't reflection, and that's the other problem with this. So if we actually look back at the roll of tape, if I pull a piece off, you can see that the underneath is actually white, and that also means that the cut edges are white. So if I hold it this way instead, you can see the edges of the tape are bright white all the way down. So I could possibly get away with just a little bit of, I don't know, weathering powders maybe on the top, but I think to get it to look right, I'm going to have to give it at least a light coat of black paint and then weather it as well, to kind of get rid of some of those marks. But even if I have to paint it, then I think this actually looks pretty good, and I think, you know, it's much better than the silver would have done, and you get the nice effect of the overlapping layers of felt as well. So next step I think will be to remove I had to poke holes through the tape, you can see, to get the roof part details back on. But the next step is to remove the roof details and then give this a spray of black paint so I can double check that these lines disappear properly and that it looks okay. The nice thing about it, of course, is if I spray it and decide it looks terrible and I want to do something different, then I can just pull the tape off, clean the aluminium, and start again. So it's one of those things that we can kind of do multiple times until I'm happy. It's not like I'm going to have to rub down you know, wooden parts or something to remove the paint. I can literally just remove the tape and then use some probably some, you know, cleaning fluid, something like acetone or IPA, to clean off any glue that's remaining on the aluminium before I put more tape on or paint it again. So yeah, that's the plan. So I don't know whether there'll be a second half to this video or whether it'll be another week, but I'm hoping to get some paint on this and then we can have another look at it. So thanks for watching for now, and as I say, I might see you in a couple of seconds, or it might be another week. Okay, so the weather was nice, so I've gone out and I've put a little bit of black paint on this, and it's worked really, really well. So you can still see that it's got that nice kind of finish to it, but we can't see any of the edges. So the direction for the white edges was looking this way, and they're basically gone now. You can see the light reflecting off the edge of the tape, but that bright white line has gone. Certainly, yeah, looking at it by eye, it's gone, and I might do another pass of paint just to be certain, and some weathering, but basically that's worked nicely. The little white dots, you can see the holes where the stuff on the roof goes. So yeah, so that's worked really well, and it's got rid of the marks on the edge as well, where the flaps were. They're all gone, or as close as enough for me to again possibly touch the odd one in by hand or give this another paint. But all the corners are now nice and black and everything else. So yeah, so really happy with that. That's worked really well. As I say, I'll leave a link to the gaffer tape. As I say, it's a lovely kind of felty material that's great, I think, for these roofs. I mean, obviously in smaller scales you could just use a small piece and cover an entire roof, and I think that would work really well. So yeah, really happy with that, and it's one of the you know, the big pieces of kind of painting kind of decisions I had to make for the tram ticked off. So I think that's a pretty successful week. So yeah, no idea whether it'll be more tram next week or more of the little works loco. We shall see. But thanks again for watching, and don't forget, if you don't want to miss anything, on the subscribe button should be down here somewhere. Bye for now.